Durin is the brand new character coming to Genshin Impact with version Luna 3, and on the creator experience server, I've had the chance to test him on a wide variety of teams, so here are my first impressions. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. And as I said, this is on the creator experience server, which is not the live version, so things are still subject to change. And of course, I only had a limited time to test, and Durin has a ton of teams, so this is far from a final definitive review on Durin. Consider this as one data point on your decision as to how he might fit on your account if you like him. But I will say, just as an overall first impression, he works on a lot of teams and he feels really good on a lot of teams. I think in general, he's not going to break the power ceiling of the game for most teams, for most players, for most characters, but the vast majority of teams that he works on with an off-field pyro that has supportive capabilities, this is just a very valuable and important niche. Being able to replace Moika on a lot of teams is ridiculously valuable. And I think that if you do use a lot of the teams that Durin works on, you will probably find a lot of value in those. So that's my TLDR, but I'm going to obviously go through each team that I tested to give you my impressions on it. But first of all, let's do a build guide. So as a character that does damage, level 90ing him is fine. You can also leave him at level 80 ascended. He's not going to be your highest priority to 90, but you might as well eventually, as he does a large amount of damage, but he doesn't specifically benefit from levels or anything like that. For talents, his skill is extremely important as it provides the energy refund that allows you to build with his burst so easily. His burst, although it has a 70 energy cost, he gets a flat energy refund from his skill, and crowning his skill is going to give you the max amount of that flat energy refund, which will allow you to build very little ER, if not no ER, on a lot of teams. So his skill is absolutely imperative to level. I would recommend crowning it. I would also recommend crowning his burst, as that's the majority of his damage. Not the highest priority to crown, but definitely something that I would do eventually. And then, of course, if you are playing DPS Durin, you will want to level his normal attacks. I think level 9 is going to be good enough for these, unless like Durin is your main and you really are min-maxing DPS Durin. If you're not going to play on-field Durin, which does require C6 Bennett, then you can leave his normal attacks at 1. For his build, Noblesse is going to be your go-to, at least for now. I have a sneaking suspicion that with all the Hexerai characters coming out and Durin being one of them, and we haven't gotten a second artifact set during any of the Luna patches yet, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to be getting a Hexerai artifact set soon. So I would not farm too heavily into Durin. Use what you have. Strongboxing Noblesse is never a bad thing because you will definitely use it on your Bennett, on other characters, and so strongboxing extra Noblesse is never a bad idea. But before you go too crazy min-maxing your Durin, I would wait and see, is there a new Hexerai artifact set in the next patch? He has a lot of artifact choices depending on the team that you're going to be running. Emblem can be a good set if he is doing lots of personal damage and not buffing an attack scaler, because then Noblesse is not useful if someone's already on attack. Even though you're not building lots of energy, there's just not that many great sets for Durin right now, so Emblem is an option. If you want to lean more into buffing, Scroll of the Hero Cinder City can be good for some builds. Marchese is going to be his go-to DPS set when Farina's on the team, or if in general if Farina's on the team, it's going to be good. Gilded Dreams, if there's reactions going on, is going to be one of his best sets. Flowers of Paradise Lost on Burgeon teams can be very good. Deepwood Memories on Kinich teams. You even might find yourself using Archaic Petra and catching a Crystallize that a different character made, like Albedo. That's probably not going to happen for the majority of people, and I don't want to delve too deep into all of the different possible set options for each possible team right now, because who is realistically going to switch around artifact sets that much? Realistically, there's going to be a new set next patch. You're going to farm that, and you're going to always use it, and that's just what's going to happen. You're going to want to go attack almost all the time. Pyro damage most of the time. If you have really low attack, then going attack could be worth it, but in the vast majority of the cases, pyro damage bonus is going to be better. And then of course a crit circlet. Depending, if you're solo pyro on a team that has not very much energy generation, I would say a little bit of ER, 110, 115, 120 is nice, especially in Stygian when you start with 0 energy. And there's very little particle drop from the bosses, but most teams you can get away with no energy or just whatever random 1 or 2 substats you end up getting. For weapons, obviously his signature is going to be the best. I did most of my testing with actually the Haran Gapaku Futsu. This is a little bit better than his free-to-play options, but my artifact stats just in general across the board throughout the whole testing are worse than average, I would say. So that's why I figured going for Haran for the testing would be fine. But yeah, number one, it's going to be his signature. Number two, the Freedom Sworn, if you can get 2 reactions off, which on some teams you will, some teams you won't. And obviously Elemental Mastery is not always a good stat, but it can be. Buffing is good. Mist Splitter, probably the next best one, looks really good too. Other 5-star stat sticks that give decent useful stats like Jade Cutter, Haran, Absolution, and Azurlight are probably next. For 4-star options, the free-to-play Fontaine Craftable that I don't have here is going to be your go-to, and it's going to be the best 4-star option if you're being healed. Wolfling, you don't get advantage of his full passive, unfortunately, so it's not as good as it should be, but it's still pretty solid. Moonweaver's Dawn is okay at R1, but it's not incredible. And then if you're doing Burgeon or something like Iron Sting can be okay. Oh, here is the Fontaine Craftable. I think most of the time this will be your go-to. And yeah, unfortunately, Festering Desire for the 3 of you that have it from the original event, not the best on him as it gives ER, which he does not need. By the way, if you have been enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. I put a ton of work to make the content as valuable and helpful to you as possible. Subscribing actually really helps me out, not just seeing the number go up, it helps with sponsorships and other things. So if you want to support the channel for free, if you've been enjoying the content, then please consider subscribing. Thanks a lot. Now moving on to teams. The first team I want to talk about is Overloaded. Obviously, I'm used to the old ways of playing Overloaded with Veresa or Chlorand or whatever, and Durin is my favorite way to play. What I like about Durin is that he's actually an off-field DPS on the team, which makes your actual on-field carry shine, as opposed to stealing the spotlight like you know who. You know, plus, running Moika as a sub-DPS is always kind of cope, because it's like, why aren't you running Moika on her own team? So that the fact that Durin is an alternative that is both extremely strong and feels really good to play, I'm a big fan. Whether or not he's worth it for wishing for you for this team specifically kind of depends on your account needs, but as long as you feel like you could use that last 4th slot, I have a hard time seeing you regret it. So I really like him for Overload. I know Navia teams are considered a little bit cope these days, and I totally get it. She's just feeling a little bit dated compared to the more modern units, but I ended up really liking this team. I also really felt the albedo buffs. We'll talk about those more in another video, but it felt really quite good. I did also try it with Shalonen. It did feel a little bit worse than with albedo, but both felt quite good anyways. Again, if you could use a final pyro slot for your Navia team, I definitely think that Durin is a great choice for this team. One of the few characters that actually gives synergy. It doesn't feel as bad to lose Shalonen because he's giving Geo Res Shred. I could absolutely see Durin being a staple for a future Geo DPS that might come out as well. That's not like a hint or anything. It's just, you know, that's something I could see happening. Again, I never recommend pulling on future potential. But yeah, this is something that feels good. Durin just feels good to play in general, right? Not having a huge energy cost, doing unconditional damage, so to speak. You know, there's nothing you really have to do to make him work. He just does off-field damage, and a lot of it. Yeah, Navi is a team I really enjoyed him on. I didn't have a ton of fun testing Chasca teams, to be perfectly honest. It's not our fault. It's just the Abyss and Stygian lineup. As in particular, the Abyss is very AoE focused, which is not Chasca's strong suit. That being said, for what I did test of Chasca, I really liked Durin. I feel that he is definitely one of the stronger options for the team. I mean, the fact that people still sometimes played Bennett Xiangling on this team, you know, once again, similar to others, lots of times people were running Moika or talking about Moika being the best 4th slot in this team. To have Durin be an awesome 4th slot is just absolutely huge. So I would recommend Durin to a lot of Chasca players, or at least consider it. Again, this isn't conclusive advice, but first few times playing through, it feels very good. And again, you know, he's actually supporting the character, not just stealing the spot. Next is Kinich. I really enjoyed this team. I went full healer-less, just with Eonsan as the only healer. Somehow I didn't die going through 2 of the chambers of the Abyss and was very healthy and wasn't in any danger of dying. And it honestly felt really strong. I liked it a lot. Kinich teams are notoriously weird and difficult to build. I think Kinich mains will relish in having another support. Durin definitely feels very good with Kinich. I think it also helps that Durin does hit in AoE, as does Emily, and Durin's buffing the damage with his res shred of both Emily and Kinich, as well as doing solid damage himself, even on Deepwood. So I think that definitely helps Kenich's AoE performance here. And with Eonsan able to clear Pyro, you are able to get Scroll most of the time. So yeah, as long as you cannot die, I feel like this is a really nice team. I know I've been kind of singing the praises of Durin, and it's all been it's good, it's good, it's good, you know, it's worth it. So I'm not just doing that. It did honestly feel very good. I am cognizant of not wanting to be too positive because I don't want you to feel like it's gonna suddenly change everything about the team, but it does feel good on all the teams. One team that didn't feel as good was when I tried to use Durin with Mualani. I feel like it just doesn't solve any of the issues I have with Mualani, the inconsistent pyro app. I know it's technically enough pyro for Mualani to always vape, and maybe I'm just skill issue, maybe it's my ping, maybe it's something else. I don't know what it is. Sometimes, you know, still miss a vape here and there. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong exactly. When I use Xiangling, I don't miss vapes. I don't like using Xiangling, by the way. So, I mean, I'm quite disappointed with how Durin works on the Mualani teams. I would like faster pyro app just ever so slightly, and I'd like him to actually support Mualani because, you know, using Durin here is going to be a downgrade to even something like the pyro main character. So yeah, I don't recommend Durin for Mualani. If you end up having Durin, you can definitely use him with Mualani. It's not bad by any means. This is just one of the teams that I wasn't particularly impressed with. One team that I was impressed with, and shockingly so, because I was literally just talking about how kind of unimpressed I was with the Venti buffs. I kind of really liked this. And I know the Abyss sort of favors Venti by, you know, giving mobs and stuff, but even on the floor with just a couple enemies, and even when I was fighting in single target, I felt Venti's damage was quite good, and I thought this team felt kind of strong. We'll see how it feels in future content. I did most of my testing against the 2 floors of the Abyss. The Stygian Onslaught bosses just not that conducive to really getting a read on testing, and even the first floor of the Abyss is way too, you know, multi-wave AoE heavy. It was really the second floor of the Abyss, which, you know, it's not conclusive testing. I'll be the first to say it, but it's what we have available. But I really liked this team. I really liked it. I did test with Venti on Echoes on a pretty decent set, and I did use his signature bow, but I feel like if you're gonna play DPS Venti, I feel like you should be okay and, you know, willing to wish for a signature bow. And I did use C6 Farazan and Bennett and Durin, but I thought it was kind of worth it. I thought it was kind of good. If you want to play DPS Venti, I had a lot of fun. I really liked it a lot. Some things that I didn't get to Melt, unfortunately, but even based on paper, it just doesn't look that good. I didn't get to Flynn's. You're basically replacing Sucrose with Durin. That sounds very cool and very interesting to me. I just didn't get to testing it yet, but it's something I would really like to test in the future. I feel like Flynn's wanters shouldn't be prioritizing Durin right now. They should be eyeing up Columbina, so I didn't consider it like the most highest priority. Oh, I did test Neuvillette. I tested a couple different Neuvillette things. I did Burgeon. Burgeon was okay. I was kind of expecting a bit more. I liked the Inefa stuff much better. So Durin's getting vapes, Neuvillette's getting lots of damage, and Inefa's doing lots of damage, and then Farina is also buffing Durin. This team I felt was better than the Burgeon one. Maybe it's skill issue, I don't know, but I really liked the Inefa one. The Burgeon one was just okay. I feel like that this is a team that Neuvillette mains are going to really like. Plus, not to mention, I'm using C0 Neuvillette, so having Inefa's shield is just so nice for aggressive enemies, which there are a bunch in this Abyss. So yeah, very, very pleasantly surprised. Not really surprised, but pleased with how this team performed. But I was disappointed with Burgeon in general. I feels like I'm always disappointed with Burgeon. I don't know if it's just me, but it almost doesn't matter what's going on. I really didn't like Burgeon. Also, I don't like putting a whole new artifact set on Durin, which I had to do with Flowers of Paradise Lost, trying to get damage and balance EM and blah blah. The overall result just wasn't that great. I found this to be better. And finally, how could I almost forget DPS Durin, Vape Durin. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It didn't blow me out of the water like it looks like on the DPS sheets. Like on the sheets, it blows me out of the water. In practice, and maybe it's just because I'm bad at it and not used to it, activating Mona's buff, little bit weird having to normal attack 4 times, and then with the rotation in Bennett's circle, feels like you waste a lot of Bennett uptime. I can't get all of the charge attacks out to be pyro infused because I run out of it, because inevitably, you know, Mona gets staggered, Durin gets staggered. If the enemies go outside of the circle, you're in circle impact, you don't have infused normals. Even with all of that being said, it still felt very good, but it did feel jank. I don't think this is a team that most people will like gravitate towards, because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel intended. Like, it doesn't feel terrible by any means, but like, I think really the circle impact and the lack of uptime makes it feel like you're doing something wrong. And maybe I am. In all fairness, it is at first impression. I only had so much time to learn everything and try and execute it. I think that in the future with better bosses in Stygian and bosses that don't stagger you and stuff like that, I could see this really shining and really performing well. For now, I think it's a solid option. One thing I did like that I will say is Durin's charge attack animation is nice and it actually feels satisfying. So that's really cool. He actually even like the pulls out his wings for the charge attack animation. I really, really like it. So if you've been wanting to play DPS Durin, I do think it's worth it. It just didn't feel like spectacular the way it looks on the sheets. Also, I was only using C1 Mona because I feel like that's sort of the most approachable choice. You know, once I eventually get C4 Mona on my account, or if I do want to test C4 on here, then we'll probably see even better results from that, since that is quite a lot of stats. Crit rate and crit damage buff for that long of a time is a lot of stats. 45 crit value is huge. So if you do have C4 Mona, that will drastically impact the performance of this team. But yeah, I still thought it was pretty good. I think we'll save the Klee one for like a Hexarai first impression video. I know I did Venti, but I think we'll do another one for Klee. I didn't get around to Arlecchino and Lini and yoimiya, but suffice to say it's going to be an upgrade to at least yoimiya's overloaded teams, and unlikely to be an upgrade for Arlecchino, so that's why I didn't quite get to it. I only had so much time. So overall, I'm very pleased with this character. I like his design. I like his team options. He doesn't have, like, he does have the Hexarai mechanic where he does give more res shred when you're on a team with Hexarai characters, but it doesn't feel like it prevents him from working with other teams that don't use Hexarai characters. So that really, really feels good. And he just feels good on a variety of teams. He actually supports your DPS instead of outshining them. He frees up Moika to be her own DPS, or gives you an option if you didn't pull Moika. I'm hesitant to just say, you know, he's a must pull, he's a great pull, go get him, just because Columbina is coming, potentially more characters next patch as well. But I do feel like if you play a bunch of those teams that I talked about, I feel like you're going to be happy that you pulled for him, and I feel like he's going to be a good pull. But again, this is just my first impressions and one data point, and you'll want to compare this to other people's first impressions and further testing that I do. I think we're going to test the Hexarai characters next. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're going to get them. Please subscribe again, it helps out. And if you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.